Alas, I long so much to see my father that if you do not give me leave to visit him, I shall break my heart.
I would rather break mine, Beauty. I will send you to your father's cottage. You shall stay there, and your poor beast shall die of sorrow.
Beauty would almost have agreed to this, so sorry was she for him. But she had that day seen in her magic glass, which she looked at constantly, that her father was dying of grief for her sake.
No, I love you too well to be the cause of your death. I promise to return in a week. You have shown me that my sisters are married, and my brothers are gone for soldiers, so that my father is left all alone. Let me stay a week with him.
You shall find yourself with him tomorrow morning, but mind, do not forget your promise. When you wish to return, you have nothing to do but to put your ring on a table when you go to bed. Goodbye, Beauty.
The beast sighed as he said these words, and Beauty went to bed very sorry to see him so much grieved. When she awoke in the morning, she found herself in her father's cottage. She rang a bell that was at her bedside, and a servant entered. But as soon as she saw Beauty, the woman gave a loud shriek, upon which the merchant ran upstairs, and when he beheld his daughter, he ran to her and kissed her 100 times.
I have brought no clothes with me to put on.
But the servant told her she had just found in the next room a large chest full of dresses, trimmed all over with gold, and adorned with pearls and diamonds. Beauty, in her own mind, thanked the beast for his kindness, and put on the plainest gown she could find among them all. She then desired the servant to lay the rest aside, for she intended to give them to her sisters. But, as soon as she had spoken these words, the chest was gone out of sight in a moment.
Perhaps the beast chose for you to keep them all for yourself.
As soon as he had said this, they saw the chest standing again in the same place. While Beauty was dressing herself, a servant brought word to her that her sisters were come with their husbands to pay her a visit. They both lived unhappily with the gentleman they had married. The husband of the eldest was very handsome, but was so proud of this that he thought of nothing else from morning till night, and did not care a pin for the beauty of his wife. The second had married a man of great learning, but he made no use of it, except to torment and affront all his friends, and his wife more than any of them. The two sisters were ready to burst with spite when they saw Beauty dressed like a princess and looking so very charming. All the kindness that she showed them was of no use, for they were vexed more than ever when she told them how happy she lived at the palace of the beast. The spiteful creatures went by themselves into the garden, where they cried to think of her good fortune.
Why should the little wretch be better off than we?
We are much handsomer than she is.
The sisters were consumed by jealousy and spite, unable to see the goodness in Beauty's heart. "Sister," said the eldest, "a thought has just come into my head. Let us try to keep her here longer than the week for which the beast gave her leave, and then he will be so angry that perhaps when she goes back to him, he will eat her up in a moment."
That is well thought of, but to do this we must pretend to be very kind.
They then went to join her in the cottage, where they showed her so much false love that Beauty could not help crying for joy. When the week was ended, the two sisters began to pretend such grief at the thought of her leaving them that she agreed to stay a week more. But all that time, Beauty could not help fretting for the sorrow that she knew her absence would give her poor beast, for she tenderly loved him and much wished for his company again. Among all the grand and clever people she saw, she found nobody who was half so sensible, so affectionate, so thoughtful, or so kind. The 10th night of her being at the cottage, she dreamed she was in the garden of the palace, that the beast lay dying on a grass plot, and with his last breath put her in mind of her promise, and laid his death to her forsaking him. Beauty awoke in a great fright, and burst into tears.
Am not I wicked to behave so ill to a beast who has shown me so much kindness? Why will not I marry him? I am sure I should be more happy with him than my sisters are with their husbands. He shall not be wretched any longer on my account, for I should do nothing but blame myself all the rest of my life.
She then rose, put her ring on the table, got into bed again, and soon fell asleep. In the morning, she with joy found herself in the palace of the beast. She dressed herself very carefully that she might please him the better, and thought she had never known a day pass away so slowly. At last the clock struck 9, but the beast did not come. Beauty, dreading lest she might truly have caused his death, ran from room to room, calling out,
Beast, dear beast!
But there was no answer. At last she remembered her dream, rushed to the grass plot, and there saw him lying, apparently dead, beside the fountain. Forgetting all his ugliness, she threw herself upon his body, and, finding his heart still beat, she fetched some water and sprinkled it over him, weeping and sobbing the while. The beast opened his eyes.
You forgot your promise, Beauty, and so I determined to die. For I could not live without you. I have starved myself to death. But I shall die content since I have seen your face once more.
No, dear beast, you shall not die. You shall live to be my husband. I thought it was only friendship I felt for you, but now I know it was love.
The moment Beauty had spoken these words, the palace was suddenly lighted up, and all kinds of rejoicings were heard around them. None which she noticed, but hung over her dear beast with the utmost tenderness. At last, unable to restrain herself, she dropped her head over her hands, covered her eyes, and cried for joy. And when she looked up again, the beast was gone. In his stead, she saw at her feet a handsome, graceful young prince, who thanked her with the tenderest expressions for having freed him from enchantment.
But where is my poor beast? I only want him and nobody else.
I am he. A wicked fairy condemned me to this form, and forbade me to show that I had any wit or sense, till a beautiful lady should consent to marry me. You alone, dearest Beauty, judged me neither by my looks nor by my talents, but by my heart alone. Take it then, and all that I have besides, for all is yours.
Beauty, full of surprise, but very happy, suffered the prince to lead her to his palace, where she found her father and sisters, who had been brought there by the fairy lady whom she had seen in a dream the first night she came.
Beauty, you have chosen well, and you have your reward, for a true heart is better than either good looks or clever brains. As for you, ladies,
And she turned to the 2 elder sisters.
I know all your ill deeds, but I have no worse punishment for you than to see your sister happy. You shall stand as statues at the door of her palace, and when you repent of and have amended your faults, you shall become women again. But, to tell you the truth, I very much fear you will remain statues forever.